today I have the honor to introduce Thais Corral. Since the 1990s, you have implemented global and local initiatives to strengthen and implement sustainable development. In connection to that, you founded and or directed several organizations, for example, we do, Women, Environment and Development Organization, with the aim to incorporate women's movement into the environmental agenda, as well as Sinal do Vale, a very beautiful center of regeneration and learning in the Mata Atlantica. And now you are also a co-founder of Home for Humanity. And with that, I will hand over the word to you, Thais.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's my pleasure to be speaking with you. I think it's so important that we can engage in this work that we are doing, like with Professor Alexander Schiffer and Dr. Ramamani, the hosts and the real founders of Home for Humanity. It's really a satisfaction to be sharing this with a younger generation and to actually be of relevant and of service to you. So my journey over the last 30 years, as we said, brought me to this place, to Sinal do Vale, exactly because I found, being part an activist in a global agenda of women, environment, human rights, and those issues which were so important in the second half of the 20th century. It was that at a certain point we had to kind of make all these things converge into places, no? And as Home for Humanity is a place, it's place-based. Also, the place that I created, Sinal do Vale, in the last, which I have been like cultivating and dedicating and devoting, is also place-based, and I feel that this is the new calling, no? Even without knowing so much, because when I started, this of course was a possibility, but now I think more and more with the new crisis, with the crisis that we are going through, we are seeing that this is the new way to go, is the way to go, because we have all the problems that we are facing now are consequence of the lack of care, the lack of attention, the I would say the not being part of something that was close to us. No, sometimes we worry about problems that are very far away, but things that are in our doors we don't really consider. No, and this has to do with people, communities, with environment, with all the beings that inhabit co-inhabit this planet with us. No, so I think that the COVID-19 and this crisis, this global crisis, no, that is affecting all of us, is showing us that we need to go back to our places and to our homes, and from that homes to cultivate much of what is written in the charter and in the manifesto, which is actually our dream, the deep wishes of our heart, but to start from where we are. Many spiritual teachings have said that over and over, but somehow I think we were experimenting globalization. We thought that it would just be solved, by our wishes or by our charters or by our global proposals and prescriptions. But at the end, very few people were really willing to take the responsibility to make it concrete, and now we are living the consequences. So I think for me, it's this crisis is like a an opportunity of connecting to what we have to do, and what we have to do is very close to our homes. And I think it's also important to say that when I say our homes, is not because we always, I mean, the big thing of the big change of the 20th century is that we could go out, because the home in the past, in old ages, was close to actually tradition, to like the like being submitted, or being constrained to traditional values that all the liberation movements of the 20th century have opened up. So being at the world, connecting to our tribes, connecting to people through meetings, through like movements, through so many things we did. Like I was very touched and very influenced and very active in the global women's movement, which was critical, that we leave our homes, we left our homes, and we kind of engage in other places, which we made our homes. But now the home becomes again more local, and it doesn't mean that it has to be traditional in the values that we don't believe. Home, I think, is the place right now that we made for, in which we care for, in which we kind of implement the values and the perspectives, the visions that we believe are what is the world needs today. So I think it's a new opportunity to make this the I mean to make it different from was the point of departure. I think it's this can be said for my introduction. So if you start asking questions, we can explore more points.
That's great, thank you. And yes, it does feel like it's coming back somehow, or as you said, more local level again. And I was wondering, and it also often said that the world becomes more unious to a certain extent, a bit more coherent. Can you see that? And how do you think should keep this gained unity up? And what does it need that we stay connected, not just virtually, but also on a social level?
Well, I think an important aspect of this uh, new situation, new circumstances in which we are. Of course, we are connected through the technology, like we are, and so in that sense, we continue to be global. We continue to have global tribes. I continue to be all the time in seminars. I continue to be in contact with our friends that are in Europe, in the United States, everywhere in the world. But as all of us, but I think that probably we were never more connected than now, because from homes we kind of reach out through the internet and through technology other people. But I think is a sense that our actions, our commitments have to be local, even if we always say think globally and actually locally, and we always, I think we did more think globally. I mean, we were trying to think more and more globally, but we are trying more and more to ask, I mean, for people, like for governments, for companies, for different stakeholders to act locally. I say that this was a little bit the trend of the 90s, like this globalization, the ideas, but I think it's go back. It's kind of this glocalization, no, because it's still global in terms of that our culture is global, our vision is global. We are one humanity, but our actions, our care, our cultivations are local. And I think this is a shift because that was somehow, because most of the problems that we have now are also related to this globalization, like the food system, the CO2 emissions, the kind of the movements we say this pandemic itself is also related to globalization, a virus that started in China end up contaminating the whole world through people, through the movement of people. No, so how to maintain what is good of being a unified humanity? This is, I think, is a big question, and still kind of creating these local cultivations of all our main needs, which means the food, the the local food, the local care, you know, because there are so many projects. I mean, I say that Europe, United States are full of projects in Africa, in Latin America, which I think was important, but I think more and more we will have to empower what is local, and in all the localities you also have people from everywhere right now, no, but these people that have decided, I mean, an European that have decided to be in Rio will have to be connected to Rio, no, and so this diversity in the localization, I think, and the local a commitment for improving what needs to be improved, you know, because there are so many problems, no, social, environmental, that need that we kind of do this work is like of taking care of them, and this may take time, you know. That's when I created Sinal do Vale, you know, this center for regeneration, which is close to Rio. That was my sense, you know. I have traveled all over the world. I have been in many meetings, in many very interesting processes that of course I liked, but that was not these were not the places where I was settled, where I could really commit and dedicate myself, even if I could be there several times, but still I was supporting people that were local. And and uh, and what I feel is that when I committed to Sinal do Vale, which is the place where I am, I feel that I mean I told myself I now am here until I am needed, you know, which is a very different energy and the very different attitude, you know, because I am not the one is not self-centered. Is what Otto Scharmer, for example, called eco-centered, because the center of my of the decision is the place, is what is needed there, and I serve that, you know, and I think that shift of being like an individualist, maximizing, even with the best intentions, our desires, to shift to something that will really serve what is needed in the earth, for the earth to kind of go beyond what the different crises we are living. I think is what is needed today. You know, so it will require a more like I would say concentrated and deep connection to what to a calling, no, to what we feel that is required from us, no. And then we can find, because I really find being a global citizen, no, that I continue to be a global citizen, but I really find that what Sinal has given me all these years is probably more, much more transformative and nurturing than all the years that I was like just exploring the world, you know, and seeing things here and there, which were very important. You know, I'm glad I did it, but I think that the spirit of the time, the zeitgeist is a different one. You know, how, especially for you that are young, you know, how are you going to absorb that and still find, I mean, learning interest in that new possibility, you know, because I think that this is where we are moving, you know, because even if you find the vaccine of the coronavirus and we can again travel again, and it won't be the same because we know that another crisis can come. And we know also that many of the things we have been talking about, you know, like that you had to reduce, we had as humanity to reduce emissions, you had to kind of be more aware of all the impact of the food system and the trade system. I mean, can only be done if we change our behavior as consumers, no? And otherwise, it's just uh, I mean, a lip service of something that doesn't is not happening, no? Because we are saying this, but then we want a miracle, but we don't want to change anything or to commit with that change, you know. And it's interesting that we in just these 40 days, 7 weeks of the lockdown of the quarantine, the global emissions, global CO2 emissions went down more than with all the programs in which we kind of invest money, invest a lot of energy talking and doing documents and doing studies over these years. No? I mean, just with all the climate change movement. So I think there are very interesting learnings from this experience, and it will depend on us where we are going to take it. But I feel that the idea of a home for humanity is like is like a very, I would say, inspiring way to take this again, to take this relocation, this relocalizations, no, that we will need to do if you want to really change some of the key problems we have.
Thank you so much for that. Ludo, do you maybe want to carry on?
Sure, I have a question because I've learned that at Sinal, the development of nature-based solution is an essential part of the work done, and I would be very interested to know more about such local action which are based on nature-based solution.
Well, I think the name is very like cool and inspiring, but basically is you know, there is this whole trend of biomimicry and like looking at nature and what nature has done and what she tells you. But basically is the nature-based solutions. Of course, in many cases it include also technology, you know, that has been developed to kind of collaborate with nature, because most of what we call nature is not intact. It has been degraded. It has been like so whatever we are going to use from nature will have to be like we'll have to regenerate. You know what was there before we start all our exploitative, like uh, exploration system, no? But what we call nature-based solutions, I mean, in the prototypes we have done, there is one element that is very important, is to look into the abundance. You know, what is already there, what nature has shown that has survived. You know, that many years of exploitation, no? Because, for example, in the valley in which we are, which was a coffee plantation like more than 150 years ago, with the slaves, with deforestation, with all the things. Then it was a coal, like a charcoal. There was charcoal exploitation, and then there were pastures. So there are cycles of exploitation that were very different. And then the nature has come back. So what is there that really survived or really was resilient, to all these cycles. And so we found the jackfruit, the bamboo, the I mean the compost, how we can the soil. I think that for us, like to grow food and do all this, the regeneration of soil is critical, no? So it's very important to kind of align ourselves with the soil. So all these aspects, no, have been like uh, the nature-based solutions is basically looking at nature and finding where there is the best match in what the nature is offering us, the technology, the needs, and the technology that we have. So these three aspects come together, and you have a solution, no, in most cases. So we now at Sinal, we found a solution for food. We found a solution for like construction, no, because bamboo is very good for construction and it's local. You don't need cement, which is so, the industry is very polluting. The transport to bring the cement is very polluting. It's not good for the environment. So that transition has needs that kind of inquiry, and observation. So and then you find the solutions. But to start with, you have to kind of look of to that history, like in permaculture, you look at the history of the land. What has happened with the land over the last 150 years, who were there, how it was used, because this is going to show you a path of what can be done, what can be planted there, how it can be planted. So but then I think it has to do with something that our society wanted to completely erase, and we will have to kind of recall again or relearn again, which was the question of the rhythms. No, we completely like cancel or disregard the rhythms of nature, the rhythms of even our own rhythms, no, the rhythms of our bodies, and that's why the planet is also so ill, no? And all the most of our economy, the predominant economy is the mainstream economy, is based on forcing the rhythms of nature, no? Because when you kind of put all these chemicals on the soil, when you do these big monocultures, when you do this fishery, when we do the animal farms, it's all really interrupt the rhythm and to make it faster. Now, the nature-based solutions are basically also respecting rhythms, no? The rhythm of nature. So it's a solution that will be done in partnership with nature. But the first thing is to recognize what nature has done, how it reacts to all these levels of exploitation that happened in the past.
Maybe to follow up on this, or do you have another question, Leo?
No, I'm good for now, but I'm going to jump back in after yours.
Okay, great. Because with your previous organization, Redo, you address the gender issues in tackling environmental issues and the environmental crisis, let's say. Now, my question is, can you also see those gender issues in the current crisis, and what is needed there? Yes, when you talk about women leadership, how can that help to tackle such crisis?
Well, I think it's when you talk about home, the home for centuries in the archetypes was like the place of women, no, while men was since the gatherers, no, think the thousands of years ago. I mean, the men were always thought to be the chasers, and the women were at home. So I think that recalling this locality, no, is recalling this locality, and the sense of this locality is also to recall the sense of the feminine, no, the sense of a different rhythm, because I think that the feminine, I say women, but it could be for women and men, but the feminine helps us recall another sense of time as well, no, that everything is longer, no, you kind of you stay with what you stay with the child that that will born, you stay with the child that grows, you stay with the people that the old people and whatever we need to be supported, need to be cared for. So I think these rhythms of women and of the feminine were very are very much part of the culture that needs to emerge and establish itself. In that sense, I think that women could have a big role. I mean, in terms of the predominant system, to be frank with you, know, I don't know if there is much difference if a company is headed by a woman or a man. Maybe there are slight differences that women are more like into certain types of dialogue and of including more people. But I think that what we are seeing now is more about that idea, the feminine, and that idea that women are caretakers and caregivers, no? And this is so much part of the culture that needs to emerge. So I think I see a central role to those qualities of the feminine to to be recognized as very valuable in this transition, no? And I think that it's not that women again, because I mean, some people could claim, and does it mean that women are going to be locked at home again? I mean, it was such a like a conquest, you know, and to kind of go over that sense that women were locked at home, and to kind of elevate so much that place of women at home. But I don't think it's the same. I think that we have to recognize that centrality of that role, and to kind of push it as a value for society, in which that men are participating as well, that the policies are supporting this, and all this apparatus, this architecture, this supporting architecture system really supports this very important role of women, you know, of caretakers and caregivers, and because this is what made the homes as a home, you know, is that work of caring that was mainly done by women, you know, over centuries, and it will have to continue to be done, but in a more like supported way and in a more like shared way. That's an important thing to add.
Of course, yeah, we couldn't agree more. And coming back to the present crisis and to the need for balance in our life, how is this corona crisis an opportunity to restore our relationship to nature and to the earth, which is, as you said, our common and sacred home?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think basically, you know, I mean, it's I all the things we said over years, no, I mean, about the state of the world and all the crisis, and with climate change, we have so many like even deadlines. No, in 50 years something can happen, and the consequences are going to emerge if we don't really put a cap on the emissions. And we have said about the state of the ecosystems. 2 billion. It's about 2 billion hectares of land are degraded already. So it's almost 60% of the planet. The soil is not what it was anymore. So all the evidences we have, which are many because the technology also allows us to have all this accurate data, so it's not what happened to the virus, which is somehow was not as strong as it could be, because somehow 5 to 6% of the infected people are dying, and not we are having like 1 billion deaths, as it could be like a pandemic like this, is that it's a wake-up call, this time a little bit more stronger, because it will be affecting our economies, our our things that we took as granted, but basically what I feel is that we haven't we still let me see, because the car was passing and I was afraid of the noise. So for me, it's very important to recognize that we can't go back, which is what this crisis is showing us, is that we have experienced as humanity the type of consequences that are in our doors, so it was the coronavirus, and that will be one more and one more, one after the other, because I think we have reached the point that what we have from now on are consequences because of the situation in which we are. No? So I think it's critical that we take this opportunity that fortunately we don't have the adequate leadership for that, but as citizens, as leaders of institutions, that we take this wake up call really serious, and don't go back to the same. Don't go to business as usual, but that you take this opportunity to really move into the change we need. And I think that two things for me are critical, and I say this at Sinal, and it's our actions related to actually things that are critical for us, the food, the consumption, what we consume, how we consume, from whom you consume, all this, and the other thing is like inequality. We can't at the 21st century, continue to be like a 5% of humanity has has 50% of the wealth, and some live in this gold age of technology, of affluence, and half of the humanity is in the precarity that we see, and I think that the coronavirus and is showing that, because I mean, look at who is dying. Is people that have health problems, people that live in inadequate housing, in places where there is no infrastructure. So this has to be corrected, before we move into anywhere. I think these two things have to be really acknowledged, and for the by the global community. So if it's not by the global community, by the many units that we are calling homes for humanity, but this is a very practical, besides all our visions, the charter and the manifesto of what we wish to see in the world and what we want to convey. We have to say to ourselves, to our peers, I am ready to commit to a change, and I will start from where I can. That's the only way. Otherwise, we keep pushing this with somehow, in a way, not being realistic, of the work that is needed, so avoiding the work that is needed. So I am becoming, with this crisis, more and more like practical. No, of course, we want to be innovative, we want to be strategic, but we have to be all the practicalities of the outcome of this has to be very much present into our minds. Otherwise we will continue because there are strong forces of the status quo not to change, otherwise would have already changed. We know most of the things that are happening now, we knew already, are just problems and questions that we have been avoiding because they are too complicated. But now we have an opportunity, the recession, the fear, all this offers also an opportunity of awareness, and more people willing to take action, to correct what is the causes that have produced this.
So yes, there is a silver lining, even though the crisis is, for now, has dire consequences. I mean, that's very good to know, and I think that's the attitude we need to adopt as a society in general. And continuing on this, you said that people should now be ready to commit no matter where they are. But which piece of advice could you give to someone maybe like Stephanie or I? Like, how can you commit when you do not see the bigger picture and you're not sure of where your action may lead you or what your action may lead to globally?
I mean, you are already doing these interviews. You are already talking to people. You are looking. Probably you did it. Why are you doing this? Why did you commit to do this work? What was the motivation?
Well, for me, is that I met Alexander a little less than a year ago, and I see that he was proposing his course on integral development, and I just really wanted to learn his view and his way of tackling the most pressing issues we have at work. Simply because he made a very good impression on me. He had a very big influence on me when I met him, and I knew that he for sure would have some extremely relevant concepts to share with me and my teammates.
So, and what have you learned, so far? I mean, in this
Well,
journey, you had a question, and somehow you followed a path that somebody that to follow to to deepening more some. I mean, he's thinking, somebody that was older than you that had these questions that you're having in a longer time, because we are all in a journey. It's just that some of us have a little bit further because we have been there more time. So what did you discover in this inquiry?
well, what I learned alongside Alexander and is that balance is absolutely key, and I'm trying to adopt a more holistic view on life, especially after he explained us in details the integral model and show us the imago integralis so the compass basically. And yeah, I realized that I was deeply imbalanced with respect to certain parts of the compass, for example, south and east. I did not develop these aspects enough in myself. And so I'm definitely trying to work towards having a more integral view on life and just trying to, yeah, fix the imbalance I've had in my life and in my persona so far.
Mm-hmm. So I think there is no answer, no, to your question. I mean, a precise answer. But I think the most important thing is to have a question, no, to have like to be connected to an authentic wish, authentic question, and not to erase it or just think that the world is what it is, and to take your life. Your life and seriously, and I think it's this is the first step, and I believe a lot, in my journey. I had the questions. I also did a very famous business school and then followed a totally different path, you know, like when I went to live in Italy and to explore, and then I kind of found the feminist movement, and I found all the and I found all this sequence of events that happened in my life that put me. I am 63 at this stage in a place where I feel like I have a path. You know, I mean, I don't look back and say where I am. You know, what I did. What did I do? I did with my life. I think I did a life of search. You know, of searching where was my place, where I could manifest. I mean, what was important for me, what was meaningful for me, and I could be of the service for the world. So I think that if you keep these questions alive, if you take care of yourself, because I think our energy is our main resource, and our energy and concentration are very important resources, human resources we have, intelligence, concentration, and energy. And if you kind of keep being around people that are meaningful for you, that you see as people that you aspire to be like them, or to be what they, or to be in the to be with what they aligned. I think you are going to find that. You know, it's not that there is a miracle. There is the truth or the epiphany. It's a day by day construction. You know, and it's until the end, because I don't think we arrive to a definite place. You know, it's a constant like a learning and a constant application of what you learn. You know, I don't know if this was a good answer.
Well, at least it was very, very good advice for me, and I thank you very much for it. Would you like to jump in, Stephanie, before we come back to the notion of home?
Yes, sure. Talking about learning, and you already mentioned Alexander, so maybe coming back to Home for Humanity, since you are also a co-founder of Home for Humanity, I wanted to ask you if you could maybe talk a bit about the connection between Home for Humanity and Sinal de Vale. What did you take out of your visits to Home for Humanity, and vice versa? What does Sinal and you bring into Home for Humanity, and what does it mean for you to be co-founder of Home for Humanity?
Well, first of all, I believe a lot that a lot of things in life come through relationships, no, and the connection between Sinal and Home for Humanity comes basically from the connection, the relationship that I built over the years with Rama Mani and Alexander Schiffer. Since the beginning of Sinal, we met at the beginning of Sinal, and I think also at the beginning of the their their envisioning of making their home like a place in which they also brought the work that they did in the world, you know, because they both the three of us were people that activists on the planet, you know, I mean, especially Rama and Alexander even more than me in the last years, because they continue most of the work of Alexander was global, and of Rama as a human right activist and a conflict transformation agent. I think that both of them were already. So we met in this inquiry, you know, like what would you do? How we could be like more the hostess and the holders of spaces of meaning for people, for young people. And I think that both of them and I had this aspiration, no, this deep desire of having young people around us that we could support, and we could steward towards finding their 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 desire and their calling, in a more like consistent way of in terms of what the world needs. And I think that's, I mean, these were the two aspects that that really connected us. No, the the young change agents, no, the change agents, the agents of transformation, and in places of meaning, no, which were like in my case, Sinal, which is like a farm, it's a land, and in their case, it's also a land, but it's also their home, which is the manifestation of everything, places that they have been, things that they have done over the years.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So maybe as a conclusion, we would love to ask you if you maybe are willing to show us a specific place or your favorite place at your home, or a specific, I don't know, your favorite object that really represents home for you that you would absolutely take anywhere you go if you had to move, or
okay,
what do you
I will show you. It's a small thing that I'm going to bring it and show you. Hang on, where is it? This is something I bring everywhere I go, which is importance, which brings the importance of the sound, in our connection, in our connecting to this very powerful this very, very powerful element that is in nature, the sound. One of the things that when I came to this valley really touched me was the sound of the water, because there is the river. I mean, the water always flowing, and that sense of flowing was something that really was key to me to do this jump, into the unknown, because I really didn't know what was going to happen here. It could survive, it could not go anywhere, so it was very important for me. Can you hear? So this is something I bring everywhere because it reminds me about the importance of the sound. And by the way, this in particular was done in France, so it has a connection in terms of location to the Home for Humanity, which is located in France.